Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome inside the Lock Shop. Dusty and Hus with you once again. Lock Shop brought to you by our great partners at Coolbet Canada. If you're not yet signed up for an account, you know how to do it. Hopefully, you just go to coolbet.com. Use the code LOCKSHOP when you do all one word. You get a 100% deposit bonus on initial deposit up to 200 smackaroos. Hus, what's up? But you eventually have to log off Twitter yesterday at some point?
I got in the mud a little bit with a couple guys with an average follower count of 1.5. But hey, you know what? That's why I wore the red today. I'm not backing down from my statements
of course
yesterday.
Not. Of course not.
I'm here for it. Hey, whatever. It's fun. There's been more. I was thinking about this, Dusty, and I'm a man that's here for people getting mad online, myself included. But if you look at, especially here, like in Winnipeg, over the last 3 days, started off with everybody getting screwed with the whole Ohtani business. And that sort of took over the weekend. I mean, everybody north of the border was mad online about that. And then Sunday, the infamous offensive offside call with the Chiefs. I was choked about that. That was a huge discourse. And then Kyle Connor gets kneed by Ryan Strome. We're going to find out how long he's out for today, and no supplemental discipline. So I can say either directly or at Jace, there was a lot of people pissed off, and I was included in that group in some of these occasions right now. But hey, it's given us lots to talk about. And as I say, for the Jets, big one tonight. They're in San Jose trying to win their 5th in a row, get back into first place in the Central Division. But the big news around here is going to be right towards the end of Winnipeg Sports Talk.
I was going to say, when's this info going to come out here?
Well, they're in San Jose, so their morning skates 11:30 a.m. on Pacific time. So that's 1:30 here. So I imagine by around 2:30 or so, we'll have word on how long Kyle Connor's going to be out. But people are very pissed that there was no supplemental discipline on Ryan Strome for that. And you can imagine, I mean, I still maintain that if a guy sticks his knee out and goes knee on knee, for instance, on maybe one of the other guys at the top of the scoring leaders, say Austin Matthews, like, do we think that that's just nothing?
So you think this is a Kyle Connor situation, a Winnipeg situation?
I put it this way. I think that, in the bigger media markets, this would
more
be
of a spotlight on it.
It would create way more attention. It would have more conversation, and it probably wouldn't have been put to bed so quickly.
It's funny. We had Darren Dreger on yesterday, and we were talking about kind of the madness around the National Hockey League with the Perron suspension, Branson losing his mind, and he preemptively brought up Strome on Connor and how he immediately heard right after it happened that the NHL was not considering a suspension. Like, he said that kind of came along pretty quickly. Like, there was not a lot of debate about it from the NHL side of things either. So, and maybe if there is a bigger market and there's more discussion about it, maybe the NHL thinks differently. I hope that's not how they would operate, Hus. You know what I mean? Like, just do your bloody job. But
the other
reality is reality.
The other thing is usually they penalize based on if a guy's hurt. Like, if you do something, like, put it this way, if you knee a guy and get a 5-minute major in a game misconduct and knock a guy out for 2 months, I mean, you would think that there would be some sort of punishment to that. And I mean, that's just based on previous cases. I mean, they've always said that they take into consideration the injury. I mean, maybe Dregs was saying that was actually a legal play and the Jets got one for the 5-minute penalty. I certainly don't think so, but anyways, there's nothing we can do about it. But I'm sure most people would agree that there's a different level of attention to particular teams and particular players. And unfortunately, as much of a superstar as Kyle Connor is, he's playing in the smallest market. That was a late night game on a Sunday on the West Coast. I think for a lot of people, it's out of sight, out of mind. But we're just continuing our prayer vigil to hope that KFC is back a little sooner as opposed to later.
Let's lay out the show for you. We do have a full slate in the NHL tonight, so we'll certainly get to that. We're going to recap last night in the National Football League. We got to go there. I got the picture of DeVito and his agent on the Lock Shop screen today. I mean, what a scene! What a scene that is. So we'll get into that. We're also going to announce the Hockey Hall winner from Coolbet Canada later on in the show today. So you want to be sticking around for that. We got a nice little prize pack that we're going to be dishing out there. So if you got into the Hockey Hall contest, make sure you stick around because that will be revealed on the show today right here on the Lock Shop. If you ever miss a show, you want to slide on in, make sure you subscribe to the podcast as well so you can get it on demand. Of course, you can watch it anytime on the Edmonton Sports Talk YouTube channel as well. Huss, there's a lot to discuss from the two football games last night. I know we've been treated to some duds, but some drama lost last night in both games. Where do you want to start? Which one do you want to hit on?
It was absolutely insane last night. And, if you made it out on a Monday night to a spot that had TVs right beside each other and got a chance to watch both, you saw two games that started pretty slowly and ended up in absolutely spectacular fashion. Well, let's start with DeVito and the Giants and the Packers, because hand up, I mean, we all saw him play the first couple of games and we're like, well, this is the worst quarterback we've ever seen in the NFL. Like how I
was going over like his college career today, and I said to Lieutenant Eric, we're sitting around here after the show, I'm like, how's this dude even in the NFL? Like looking at his college career, he basically didn't do anything anywhere, and now he's starting in the National Football League. It's wild to me.
Yeah. I mean, none of us knew much about him other than he had a great name, Tommy DeVito. And now he is an absolute cult hero in New York. And I mean, the legend of DeVito is growing. He was nails last night. Like for a guy that only passed for 158 yards, although he can run, like he had, I think 70 plus rushing yards last night. For a rookie in that situation in prime time, maybe he's just playing like he has got nothing to lose. But the way he drove that touchdown pass was unreal. Obviously, you know what you got to do, get it to Saquon. But he got the ball back down one, and man, the Packers wish they had that 2-point convert back. I'll tell you that much. And to drive the field. Great play by that Wan'Dale Robinson. We've sort of been waiting for him to show up and do something the last couple of years. He was awesome last night. And then to get the win, it was amazing. Matt LaFleur's first ever loss in December. How about that? He was 16-0 in December going into that game. But for a Giants team that was completely left for dead quite a long time ago, and we'll have to get into this a little bit deeper once we talk about these games. But as crazy as it sounds, at 5-8, they are like the Green Bay Packers are still in a playoff spot right now at 6-7. So the Giants are sort of live again. And and the funny thing is, we live in an era of, you can't copy anything, you can't mimic anything because you'll get canceled. Thank God that this guy is Italian, because that's, I guess, just the Italians, you're able to go, hey, all that stuff. Everyone's doing it. The media's doing it right now. It's a heck of a lot of fun, but I don't think it would pass the sniff test if he was maybe of a different ethnicity.
Yeah,
but anyway,
that's true. But it's the Italian. I don't know. Everybody wants to do. You're right. Look at Tommy DeVito.
They lean into it. And I mean, his dad, his agent. I mean, it looked right out of a Sopranos skit.
Dude, this is like a Rocky Balboa story here right now with DeVito. Yes. It's like they're just like, hey, man, find a local guy to throw in at quarterback because our season's over. And you got this kid from New Jersey who slides in and maybe has the greatest moment of his life last night. You know what I mean? Like, it very well could have been.
Well, he still lives at home, right? That's the other story. He still lives at home. His mom does his laundry and cooking and all that. I mean, and then I don't know if you saw the outfit that he wore in. Did you see that?
I didn't see the walk-in outfit. No.
Oh my God, dude. He was wearing like a kind of a furry, fluffy, red V-neck, almost a crop top. That's the best way I can describe it. He had an incredible look going in. But I'll tell you what, I mean, listen, it was fun to watch. I mean, they sure played it up on the broadcast. But in crunch time, he got the job done. And that is a devastating loss for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, to think that the Minnesota Vikings went through that game with the Raiders, somehow came out with a 3-0 victory, and they're the big winners this week in the NFL in the NFC. Like, the Packers lost. They're in a spot at 6-7. Vikings are a game clear. The Lions also lost, and they have 2 head-to-head games with the Lions. I mean, if some miraculous thing happens where the Vikings actually look, that's the crazy thing. They looked so bad and yet won this game, and here they are in the 6th seed. But the Rams got pounded. Seattle got pounded. Atlanta won, but they and now Tampa is in first place in the South with their 6-7 record. You've got Atlanta and New Orleans, and then there's the Giants right now.
Yeah, they're there. Yeah,
you can't go through the schedule of every single team through the way, but the Vikes incredibly are the big winners of Week 14 with their 3-0 win. And the Pack, listen, the Pack still control their own destiny, and they do have a pretty light schedule. They got the Bucks, the Panthers, huge game with the Vikings on New Year's Eve, and then home to the Bears. So I think they should be good enough to get in. But anyways, last night it was all about Tommy DeVito. And to think that ending was about a 6 out of 10 if you want to compare it to what happened
to the other one. Well, we'll get to the other one. I just have to say I googled Tommy DeVito's outfit. I searched it on Twitter. Excellent description of what he wore into the game, Hus. Yeah. But the other thing that pops up a few times, I see people saying Tommy DeVito's agent's outfit, and it goes to like a Spirit of Halloween mobster costume. And it's exactly what he looked like. I mean, just a straight up old school, right out of Goodfellas, calling the shots, getting his boy Tommy at quarterback for your Giants, you know? So it was that was amazing. That was fun. And then so the other game, that was the one I was paying more attention to. The Tyreek Hill injury, he's out of the lineup. I think he was involved in the 1 touchdown celebration, though, where they grabbed the guys by the heels and they did like the wheelbarrow celebration. And then he didn't play later in the ball game, so I don't know what the hell was going on there. But I'm watching the game. I see them make it 27-21. And I was like, good effort. Nice work by the Titans. Come back, make it close. They're going to cover the spread. It was all good. It was bedtime for the kids. So I'd put them to bed, and I had to go out. I was flooding the rink last night. I had to go stop the hose. I was like, the game's over, whatever. I come back in, and the TV was in commercial. And I sat down. Actually, no, it was just beginning Sports Center. And I sat down, and I grabbed my phone, and it's like 12 missed texts. I'm like, what the hell? And I look, and it's just the Lock Shop chat being like, can you believe that just happened? I'm like, what the hell just happened? So I scrolled back and watched it, and it was like, they made it look easy, Hus. That's the weird part. Like, the Titans made the pretty rather miraculous comeback seem relatively easy in the spot they were in. I was very, very surprised Miami let that slip away as easy as it looked.
Well, and I mean, let's think about how they got up in the first place. I mean, the Titans threw up all over themselves, muffing a punt on their own 10-yard line, and the Dolphins had to go like 7 yards for the touchdown. And then they get the ball back. The next thing, Will Levis throws it behind Derrick Henry, a terrible throw that ends up getting recovered. And again, short field, boom, touchdown. Like, it went to 27-13 like that. And I think, and I'm sitting here going, well, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But guess what? The over is all of a sudden alive. Little could I have imagined how things were going to end. And then Tennessee got the ball. They drove down. You're kind of thinking like, okay, whatever. And Mike Vrabel, man. Vrabel has stones. And I guess in their situation, I mean, they're 5-8 now. Although, New England's 2 games worse than everyone else in the AFC. That's actually crazy. And they just won. But, he went for 2. And we hear that all the time. Well, you know what? If you're down by 14 and you get a touchdown, go for 2. And I'm sort of on either side of it. I personally probably feel more comfortable going for the 7. But I guess if you've got confidence in your 2-point plays, you make that happen. And then Miami was 3 and out like that. And the next thing you know, Tennessee's got the ball back and they went down and scored and still left like a minute 30 or so on the clock, Dusty. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then Tua had the opportunity to get going and they didn't get it done. I mean, I don't know if you saw that stat. Teams trailing by 14 points with under 3 minutes had lost 767 consecutive games.
Really? I didn't see
Miami
that
Dolphins
one last night.
are the first team to blow a 14-point lead in the NFL in the last 3 minutes in 767 games.
That must be, I must be so shocked by that because in the CFL we see it like 6 times a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like, well, it was because when I sat back down and when I rewound it, you guys were talking and I thought, okay, well, let me see it. So I hopped on my phone quickly and I saw that the Derrick Henry touchdown happened with like 1 minute and 47 seconds left. And I was watching the Dolphins had the ball with 2:25 left. I was like, wait a second, like, how did they get the ball back and score a touchdown already? Like, this doesn't make none of it adds up. But then it does lead to the text from Jake or Pat or one of the boys. The Fish are frauds. The Dolphins are frauds. And for you, the AFC stays a little wide open right now.
Absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is, when we look at the standings right now, Baltimore is 10-3, but Baltimore has to play Miami and has a road game at the Niners.
Ooh.
So there are some things that can happen that would potentially get the Chiefs in. The Chiefs have to win their next 4 games, but as we went through yesterday,
they're 3-1 right now. They're plus 300 for conference winner.
Yeah,
Although that's full blown conference winner.
Yeah,
not regular
exactly.
season. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Exactly.
That makes sense then. That makes sense.
Well, and I'm looking at the AFC right now, and as disappointing as the game was and the loss against the Bills and all that, like Miami and Baltimore. Oh, I think Baltimore, you have to give them credit. They're the team to beat. The Dolphins, the Chiefs have already beat them on a neutral field, and we just saw that from Miami last night. You've got Jacksonville, Cleveland with Joe Flacco. Pittsburgh somehow has just lost back-to-back at home to 2-win teams, and yet is still in the 6th seed. And then you've got Gardner Minshew and the Colts in the 7th seed. Now, there are 6 teams right now at 7-6. And what's nuts about the Bills is, even with that win and getting to 7-6 and the other teams losing, they lose the tiebreaker against every other team. They are still the 11 seed right now in the AFC. And they've got a couple tough games. So, it is crazy. It is so wide open. But that loss for Miami, in some ways, I don't know if you saw Tua afterwards. He did his press conference, and I don't think he really knew what to say. I'm not sure they'd really wrap their head around how bad of a choke job that was last night. But it's great for the Baltimore Ravens. They get a bit of a, let's see, they both have a 6-3 conference record. It'll probably come down to who wins that game between Baltimore and Miami later on. And yeah, if the Chiefs can win one more game than the other 2 teams, they might be able to get up there. We should get to those futures in a minute.
Yeah,
because they are up.
I do have the futures up. I was just looking through them, and it brings me back to a text I had like at 7:00 this morning, coming off of yesterday's Lock Shop. Some guy texted our show this morning. I said, "Hey Dusty, today on the Lock Shop, can you just ask Hus if he thinks there's really good value here on the Broncos at plus 725 to win the AFC West?"
Hey, you know what? I don't.
The Chiefs are minus 2,500. So yeah, but that's funny. That was funny.
It's in all likelihood that's not. But shout out to the Lock Shoppers for getting in on it. Oh, by the way, You want to talk about great timing? So today on Winnipeg Sports Talk, Jamie Thomas is coming on the show.
Beautiful.
To talk Jets. Jamie Thomas is also a hardcore Dolphins fan. So to be able to get Jamie the day after, thinking he's coming on to just talk about the Jets. We'll get to the Jets, Jamie. We'll get to the Jets. What did you think about Monday Night Football? It's, as unhinged as I was yesterday, I imagine that there's a lot of Dolphins fans like that last night. And oh my God, for those of you that are familiar with the great Frank the Tank Fleming, they did a live stream last night. And I mean, the last 5 minutes of the Dolphins blowing that and Frank losing his mind.
I watched the final 5 minutes of that.
Performance art you will ever see. Check that out if you can. I think it's on the Barstool Gambling site. Oh my God, was it funny? But listen, coming out of last night in those two crazy games. By the way, and I've seen people saying, I want to see a Giants Titans money line parlay. There's got to be one out there somewhere.
Oh boy.
I mean, the Titans were 14-point underdogs and the Giants were 5.5-point dogs. I mean, you'd have to think
that would have been huge.
That the odds on that would be, maybe 20-1, 25-1. I'm not exactly sure just off the top of my head, but would have been absolutely massive. So it was probably a good day for the books. Although, as Mark Amp said in chat, we got sort of screwed by the Tyreek Hill injury, which really sort of with that daily pick done, did end up getting the over miraculously. But there was a haul in the hockey hall last night for people that were jumping on that. We'll announce the winner later on, but 4 NHL exclusives hit last night. Ooh. So a lot of I was really locked in on the football. Unfortunately, should have spent a little bit more time there, but it was a good time for the people that jumped on those hockey hall exclusives.
Yeah, we'll have that winner, like Hus mentioned, a little bit later on here. So if you are a lock shopper, it could be you. So make sure you stick around. Regular season MVP. I'm just looking at the futures, and the regular season MVP odds make it look like it's a 2-horse race right now for league MVP, because they got Dak Prescott at plus 140, Brock Purdy at plus 145, and then Lamar at plus 650, Josh Allen at 11-1, Jalen Hurts at 12-1, Mahomes at 14-1, Tyreek Hill at 16-1, Tua at 30-1, and Christian McCaffrey at plus 4,500 right now. So clearly the odds makers have identified Brock Purdy as the clear-cut MVP of the 49ers, with Christian McCaffrey being at plus 4,500 right now, which based on that alone, I have to sprinkle McCaffrey right now, just out of refusing to believe that the Niners are who they are because of Brock Purdy and not Christian McCaffrey still being the best weapon in the National Football League. So
the problem with this is that it inevitably goes to a quarterback if they can vote for it. And I think Tyreek Hill and McCaffrey probably should get major consideration. And look, Dak having the game that he had, the primetime games are so massive for this award. Now, the Niners have been doing it. Purdy had that huge game last week, another big one this week. But Dak doing it in primetime has made him a very slight favorite. And if anything, I think the fact that McCaffrey's there on that list would lead you to believe that Dak's probably the guy, because I think there'll be a lot of people that'll vote for Dak over Purdy if it's coming down to the two, because a lot of people will think, well, maybe McCaffrey's the guy in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's true.
Fair or unfair, when you're surrounded by all that talent, it it maybe takes away from the individual platitudes for it. But yeah, Dak at plus 140 after that huge win. And here's another interesting tweet. Like, this is on the opposite side of Dak having the huge game on primetime and going to the top. You remember my comeback player of the year bet at the beginning of the season for Tua?
Tua, yeah.
20-1. That had come down to like 2-1.
Not anymore.
Well, after what happened last night, he's back to 9-1. And DeMar Hamlin is at minus 435. And I really thought that and I guess, listen, Miami's still could get the 1 seed. They still could be that team. And I think if that's the case, I think Tua probably does get it. But people remember these primetime games a lot more because everyone's looking at them. And that was a tough one for Tua last night. He did not do much right under the spotlight against a 4-win Tennessee team. But I almost don't even mind that. If you don't have any skin in the game for the comeback player of the year, Tua, and you think that the Dolphins can come back from last night and win the AFC, and keep in mind they've got that home game against the Baltimore Ravens on Christmas Eve. The 9-1 on Tua is actually probably a pretty good deal because it's not like DeMar Hamlin's really been playing.
No.
Like he's been in a lineup. I mean, this is more a thing. Hey, he almost died. He came back, but he would be a lock if he was an everyday player, I think. But let's think about where Tua was last year. Anyways, I think there might be value on that. I think people have gone off it. And by the way, how about Joe Flacco showing up on the odds board at 18-1? Off the couch and right onto the right into the comeback player of the year.
Joe Flacco does not mess around, buddy. It's as simple as that. He does not mess around.
He's elite.
Yeah. Tomorrow we got a big hockey slate we want to get to. We got that award winner, the prize winner for the Hockey Hall that we'll get to as well. We can take a look at the NFL lines tomorrow, probably. Hey, Hus, I would think kind of an early look ahead, like
definitely.
Quick
But
peek on
just one thing to note, and I kind of got to this late. Like I was sweating through all these fantasy games. Am I going to make the playoffs? Get a bye? All that. By the way, I had a full-fledged miracle last night. I'm in one league that has individual defensive players.
Okay.
This
IDP
league.
classic.
And like when they start 7 slots every week, like 2 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 2 DBs, and a flex. And it came down for the entire points title for the entire year, which was worth a nice chunk. It came down to my opponent had Derrick Henry, and I had Titans linebacker Harold Landry. And at halftime, I literally had to look and check if he was playing. I'd fallen back, and then I don't know if you saw, like, to a fall, Landry dives and touches him. I get the miracle sack. And then he had 2 more later on. He ended up with 31 points, and I won the whole thing. So a true IDP miracle I experienced last night, which was wonderful. But I started looking ahead to next week. And I don't know if you've looked at this schedule, but we've got the Chargers. By the way, Justin Herbert out for the season. Chargers and Raiders, an eminently forgettable Thursday nighter. But then Saturday, 3 games, noon, 3:30, and 7:15, all with massive playoff implications. Minnesota at 7-6 is at Cincinnati at 7-6. The Pittsburgh Steelers
that's a big one.
and Indianapolis Colts are head-to-head, both in playoff spots right now. And then the Denver Broncos go to Detroit in the night game. So, like, of those 6 teams playing, right now, I guess technically Cincy is on the outside looking in because of the tiebreaker, as is Denver. But every one of these teams will basically be in playoff mode. This is going to be an incredible Saturday. And of course, you got fantasy playoffs going on. So a lot of major implications for these games. And we can sort of start diving into those games themselves tomorrow on the program.
Yeah, take a look at a few of those lines for sure. Tomorrow, as we work our way towards, as Hus described it, a huge weekend in the National Football League. All right, over to the NHL slate tonight, Hus. And
Here, you know what? Hey,
yeah,
Dusty, just quickly before we move over, just a quick refresher of these futures odds, because I know we talked about a couple of the awards, but as you mentioned, like with everything that happened last night, the Dolphins have actually moved down to plus 375. The Ravens are the favorite in the AFC at plus 225, and the Chiefs are 3-1. The Bills, who are right now 11th in the AFC, 4th best odds at 8-1.
Really?
Yeah, the Bills, there's a lot of people. And I mean, listen, there's always one team that kind of gets hot at the end of the year that gets in that's really dangerous. I think we'd all agree the Bills are a team that can do that. Jacksonville's kind of fallen back a little bit to 11-1, and then you've got Cleveland at 16. But no surprise in the NFC. It's San Francisco, Gap, Dallas, and Philly. Dallas plus 325, Philly plus 350, the Niners plus 125. And I will say this, I think Dallas is the more dangerous team to San Francisco. Part of it is the way they're playing right now. And yes, I know San Francisco beat the hell out of them earlier this year. But again, that was like week 5, I think, maybe week 6. Dallas has had a couple big wins. They beat a good team in Philadelphia. It could very well end up being the Eagles and the Cowboys playing each other for the right to play San Francisco. But I don't know about you. I think Dallas is a better shot at the Niners, but I think they're properly rated at plus 125 because they, to me, are clearly the best team in the NFC.
Lots of good stuff to get in on. If you want to spend some time before kickoff on Thursday, slide into those futures at coolbet.com. Click on the NFL tab. What do you got now, Hus?
Well, one other awesome prop, if you want to get in on it, is the NFC South winner.
Oh, boy.
Which everybody's tied right now at 6 and 7. The Saints are plus 185. The Falcons are plus 170. And the Buccaneers are plus 180. Like it's almost even odds between those three teams. So very rarely at this point in the season could you ever have a scenario where you had three teams with just about the same odds to win the same division. I think that also speaks to what's going on in the in that division right now. And then they've also got to make the playoffs, just to make the playoffs.
I saw a couple of decent numbers in there, actually.
So here we are. The Browns are minus 400 after that win. The Vikings are minus 115, thanks to the Giants beating the Packers. Packers and Bills are just north of even money at plus 102. Tampa, Colts, Texans, all plus 110. The Broncos are plus 140. Saints and Falcons plus 150. Rams plus 195. Steelers plus 195. Seahawks and Bengals 3-1. And then the Chicago Bears at plus 1,500. I don't know where the Giants are on this. They should probably get them put back on the list. But that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 teams. And that doesn't even include like the Chiefs and the Ravens, Dolphins. 13 teams with odds of less than plus 200 to make the playoffs. I mean, it is so wide open. I've never seen it like this before.
Yeah,
ever.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, a bunch of teams kind of just being okay this year has led to what could end up being some huge games down the stretch for sure. 10 games in the NHL tonight, Hus. Should we hop on that? I mean, big ones for both the Jets and the Oilers. I'll start with the Oilers here quickly. We do have an EST parlay is up, and we went nuts today. We're expecting, if you look at the odds on this game right now, and this has been really interesting to me this morning, and tell me if I'm reading this wrong, but this morning, the Oilers were like minus 510 on the money line, and the minus 2.5 was plus 120. Now they're minus 472 on the money line, but the minus 2.5 has moved from plus 120 to plus 100. So the puck line is at 2.5, and it's just even money here at plus 100 today. But that's moved one way. The money line has kind of moved the other here a little bit, which kind of threw me for a loop right when we started the show today.
Well, I think this is what's happening. There's a lot of people that are saying, screw it. We're laying the 2.5 goals.
Yeah.
And we're taking the Oilers on the puck line to win by 3. And people are either betting that
or the Hawks,
or they're betting the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
Or they're betting the Blackhawks. Like, I'm pretty sure Johnny Bookmaker is sitting there hoping the Oilers win 4-3.
Give them, then they cash them both. Yeah, that's true. That's a really good point.
Or maybe, actually, it's funny because the under is 7. The total 7.
Yeah.
The under is minus 130. I mean, this could be one of those nights. Like, what are the McDavid point props for this game tonight?
Well, let me lay out the EST parlay for you.
Yeah.
Because it opened at plus 535. It's at plus 525 right now, so it's moved a little bit. We've got Oilers minus 1.5 on the puck line. Oilers team total over 4.5 goals. McDavid with 2+ points. And then Hyman, Nuge, Bouchard, and Draisaitl all with a point tonight. So we got 5 guys on the point props tonight. But if the Oilers put up 5 or 6, I mean, those guys are probably going to be involved. There's probably going to be a couple of power play goals. And they got a couple of power play goals. That might check off all those boxes right there that we need. Chicago's lost 7 in a row on the road. I mean, the odds makers we're expecting a blowout tonight by the Oilers, who've been absolutely cruising right now. So we decided to load one up, and it's now at plus 525. Like I mentioned, when it dropped around 8:40 this morning, it was plus 535. So a little bit of movement on that one.
Well, there's probably getting a lot of action. Like I got to figure out a play of the day, and I might go to this game.
Man, McDavid over 1.5 points. What's the number on it? Straight up, just the
minus 116.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting 2 points in this hockey game tonight. I will be bloody stunned if he doesn't get 2 points in this game tonight.
Well, I would be. I think I might also sprinkle on the over 2.5 plus 215.
Yeah, that's nice
and
too.
Like McDavid missed a couple games. He had that slow start. I know he's been on fire right now, but he wants to get back up to the top of the scoring leaders ASAP.
Yeah, I'm going to get on that right now.
The struggling Hawks team is perfect. So I don't mind the plus 215 for the 3-point night. Draisaitl, if you want to get a 3-point night, plus 345. But yeah, that I expect it's tough to win by 3 is such a big total. I mean, for even money, but I totally see why it is. Although I'll say this, the last time we saw a favorite this big was New Jersey a week and a half ago. They were minus 467 favorites at home to the Sharks, and the Sharks won. And those Sharks numbers are not where they were earlier this year at all, just because of how many teams that they've actually been coming up and beating right now. But some really, I mean, we got a ton of games that we can sort of get to.
Yeah,
right
10
now.
games tonight.
Just as far as winning and losing money line bets, I mean, what are you looking at right now? If we wanted to put together a little,
we could definitely do a little parlay here. We can get a 3-gamer, and of course, if you're listening right now, 780-218-9999. If you like any games you want us to throw into the parlay tonight, 780-218-9999, or in the nasty chat as well. I was just going to run you through the starting goalies of what we have confirmed so far for these games tonight. Connor Ingram, who obviously was red hot there, he's unconfirmed to start for the Coyotes tonight, but listed there right now. Tristan Jarry will be starting for Pittsburgh. Korpisalo and Kochetkov both likely in that Carolina-Ottawa game. Martin Jones confirmed for the Maple Leafs. Second half of back-to-back. Shesterkin right now is likely for the Rangers. Binnington confirmed for St. Louis against Ville Husso and the Red Wings. That's the first half of that American doubleheader that has Edmonton and Chicago dropping the puck after 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight. The Flyers, Samuel Ersson is confirmed as the starter for Philly. UC Saros likely for the Preds. Dustin Wolf unconfirmed at this point for Calgary. Logan Thompson unconfirmed for the Golden Knights. Bobrovsky and Decord unconfirmed. Vasilevsky and Demko unconfirmed. Stuart Skinner was in the starting net today for the Oilers. Mrazek unconfirmed for the Hawks at this time, and then Mackenzie Blackwood and Laurent Brossoit projected but unconfirmed in this Jets-Sharks game tonight. Hus, I mean, just going through there, I mean, there's a couple of things that I thought of right away, but what jumps out for you here?
Well, you know who jumps out to me right off the bat is the Philadelphia Flyers. They just keep on winning and doing it on the road. Like Nashville has been way better over the course of the last month, and they've won a ton of games. But I just keep on seeing these significant plus numbers behind the Flyers, and they just keep on doing it over and over and over again. So I thought about the value of plus 120 on Philly. Although, to be honest, I think for a parlay, I might stay away from that because that does kind of seem like a coin flip game.
Yeah.
I just think that there's maybe some value on Philly now.
Philly's won 4 in a row, 3 of them on the road, 5-2 against Colorado, 4-1 against Arizona, and 4-3 against Pittsburgh. And then they beat Pittsburgh at home in that stretch too. So yeah, they've won 4 in a row, but 3 of them on the road there. But I understand where you're coming from because Nashville's been pretty sexy as of late too.
Yeah, you know, they have been good. I mean, the Flames are in a tough spot. I mean, they just blew it last night. I mean, they had a 2-goal lead in the third period. I don't like their chances going into Vegas. So Vegas at -185 is definitely on the radar. Lightning and Canucks is a interesting battle. Canucks got the win against Carolina. I think the Jets broke the Hurricanes. Oh, they had that game. They had all those shots. They couldn't beat LB.
Players only at the end of that trip.
They went. They've just been, and now they're actually in Ottawa tonight. Speaking of two desperate teams right now, I mean, Ottawa's in a bit of a spot. You've got Arizona in Pittsburgh. Arizona at +161, to be honest, I think is some really good value if you're just looking for a good spot to throw down. Like, to me, they're right there with Pittsburgh. But anyways, +161. But I do like Vegas. So we've got Detroit at the Blues. Now, Detroit played last night, so maybe that's not as good of a spot.
Seattle has lost 8 in a row. Florida is there tonight at -169. I got on, I can't remember which game it was, but I was against Seattle. I think it was last week, and it ended up working. Which game was that in? New Jersey. It was 2-1. I had Jersey in regulation. 4 of 5 for the play of the day last week. And I had New Jersey in regulation. They squeaked one out, 2-1 there. But Seattle has been an absolute disaster. And Florida, Florida's been pretty steady all year. They've been rolling right now. They've won 4 of their last 5. 3 of them by 2 goals or more. So I don't know. I mean, it's always scary because you're like, when does Seattle actually get one here? Because they certainly do. But that's for a parlay at -169, and I don't necessarily hate that. I do like you with Vegas on that one. Probably stay away from the Jets for the parlay at least, I would think, Hus, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like, again, it's -215. It's just too big of a number, although if we're coming into the lock shop tomorrow and they didn't beat San Jose, I will be like I was yesterday after the Chiefs fiasco. I want to like, what do we think about Tampa in Vancouver? Like, Tampa has kind of turned it around lately. They've won 3 of 4. They just beat the Kraken. They beat the Penguins. They shut out the Stars. This goes back. I mean, they lost 4 in a row, finishing up with that 8-1 beatdown from Dallas. These midweek games, they're on the road, Canucks at home. Like, I put it this way, if you like Tampa, because, I mean, we've got Vegas and we've got Florida on this ticket. It's +145.
Okay.
If we throw Tampa on it, it gets up to +425. They're +114 on the money line. And, I mean, to me, I think Vancouver right now, they had an incredible start, and they've been pretty good.
They've been pretty good. I mean, they've been kind of win-loss, 2 wins, loss type of thing,
To me, Tampa, we always talk about those teams that are in the real urgent positions right now. I think Tampa is that team. They've got Vasilevsky back. They've had a couple days. I do like, if we're looking for a plus money
little booster here,
sort of bigger favorites. We could get out on that. I guess the other one that we could think about is the Ottawa Senators, and the Sens are at home to the Hurricanes. We know what's happened to the Canes over the last little while, and Ottawa kind of quietly has won 3 of their last 4. And I can't remember where they lost in regulation or in OT to the Leafs on Saturday. But, I mean, it involves, they beat the Kraken, but they beat the Rangers, lost 4-3 the Leafs on Saturday night, beat the Red Wings 5-1. And we know that the Canes are in dire straits right now. But when I look at a team like Carolina, knowing that they've just been swept in Western Canada, do they get one before the end of the road?
You feel like they do, though, right? Yeah. I think I probably like the Tampa play a little bit more if we're looking for a plus money somewhere. The other one that I just wanted to quickly talk with you about, and then we'll get to that hockey hall winner and we'll lock something in here. So we are on Florida. What was the number of Florida? -169?
Yeah.
Where do you like that more than the Rangers at home -177 against the Leafs who played last night?
Yeah.
You do? You like the Panthers better?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the thing with the Leafs is,
I just say it was similar value, so I just wanted your thoughts on it. Yeah.
They win tons. And the Rangers for the first time, I had a beauty ticket on the weekend that thank God it was Boston -1.5 on Saturday and then Vegas and Dallas. And I staggered it. So there was a noon game, a 3:00 game, and then I had the Rangers in Washington. And both of the first two picks were like nice plus money. And then the Rangers, when I got it, was -147. When the game went off, it was at -189. And I don't know why my spidey senses were tingling about that game. I knew I didn't want to take the cash out, but I ended up betting the Caps at +159. So it basically was like a hedge. Like I would win 150 if the Rangers actually won and win like 125 if Washington. So it was sort of a way of hedging out a little bit. And I'm glad I did because they got waxed by Washington in that last game. So I just think Florida, like where Seattle's at right now as a team, I definitely feel more comfortable with the Panthers than I do the New York Rangers against a good team like the Leafs. I mean, the opponent's a big part of it as well.
So Panthers, Knights, Lightning.
Okay, straight up
3-gamer. And what's that pay? That's +4.
+425 when we put it in. So we'll probably look at it maybe around +475 or so.
You gonna have a WST parlay coming up there later too?
Yeah, we might kick something around with
the
guys, get some people in on the show. Such a late game, actually, give people a lot of time to get at it. And hey, I see Patty in the chat. Patty mentioning, guys, we're gonna have to get in on the PNC Championship. It'll be good because I think we're all sick and tired of hearing about PGA Tour and LIV. Give me Tiger Woods and Charlie Woods. Some good, wholesome father-son golf action. But those markets are up right now. Team Stricker, the favorites at +450. Team Thomas +550. Daly +550. And Woods +550. So we can find out a little bit more on that. Maybe make a pick or two tomorrow. But there's also some tournament head-to-heads that are there. If you want to click on the golf, and then PGA Championship and Open Championship odds are up as well. I always like kind of looking at the futures on a quieter day though. We've got too much else going on.
You can dive into that a little bit tomorrow. We'll take a look at those NFL lines, break down everything that happened today in the National Hockey League. Should we announce a winner in the Hockey Hall, Hust?
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm going to pass this over to you because so here's how it works. In January, I know the boys want to start spinning a wheel here in the lock shop. We'll take all the entries, put them on a wheel, and spin it. But today, the Cool Bet guys just drew a name, pass it along to us. I can't say it, so you go ahead and say it, Huss.
I can. And you know what? This is great. Congratulations to last month's Hockey Hall winner, loyal lock shopper, and WSTer, Mark Amfanasuk.
And Fantasy. I like that. Congratulations.
Mark Amp. And I will often call him Mark Amp in the especially in the marble race because his name is so long. I'm just like, okay, that's Mark Amp. Because you're looking at the screen, there's all these marbles, but there's this long line. So Mark, good stuff. And he's all fired up. Like this was his comment, the first comment of the show. We hit 4 NHL exclusives last night. Woo, Hockey Hall. And then he ends up winning the Hockey
I know. I thought that was great. Done. He's winning tickets to a Jets game and a Cool Bet prize pack.
Yeah, nicely done. So, Mark, way to go.
Congratulations, Mark.
And the funny thing is, Mark's been hot lately because Mark actually finished second in the WST marble race on Friday afternoon to Nino Niederreiter. We gave Nino a marble because he signed the contract. So we're gonna hook up Mark.
So how many people were in the marble race?
It's a big one on. It was a big one on Friday. I think about 270.
You guys are gonna have to teach us how to do the marble race. Like we're gonna have to talk to Remo about it because everybody always talks about the marble race, and I just don't know how you pull it off.
Well, first we need to be able to get graphics on the lock shop and do another. We're probably a little ways away right now before.
Well, I was talking for our show, for the morning show. Yeah, at least we got YouTube Trev we can use for that, right? Like,
yes. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of neat things out there that you can kind of, grab. I mean, the big thing is being able to grab names, have people enter, and I will say, Remus is a bit of a wizard. I still can't believe he pulls it off the way it is, but it seems to work every time. We had to get a new computer to run the marbles.
What?
With so many in.
Really?
Well, just because, it's a pretty big program. And then when you put in 275 marbles in the thing, like it challenges the juice of the computer. Yeah, for sure. Because you can go in there and play marbles on stream with a couple, no big deal.
Yeah.
When you have the massive ones, especially for like contests, it is a stressful thing. So you need whatever. It's just a matter of getting a computer that can handle that. Usually one of those good gaming things with the process.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, so Mark A, get ready.
Hey, congratulations, buddy.
Hopefully, we will say the first place Winnipeg Jets. If they can get this win tonight against San Jose, they will be back on top. But yeah, wow, 12:50. Well, WST is coming up, and then we will wait till later on in the show. We've got Mike McIntyre's notifications turned on. He'll be there, and he'll be the first one to let us know what is going on with the club. But yeah, let's get the Duck Dad, by the way, a sneaky anytime goal scorer in Seattle. Yanni Gourde is way overdue with the shot volume he's put up since his last snipe. I agree with you on that. I dropped him on my fantasy team. He's been that non-productive, but he has been playing. He has getting it around it. That's an interesting one. But I think I'm going to ride with the big McDavid night for the daily pick. You can't go wrong with 97 against the Blackhawks.
Nope, not in the spotlight against Connor Bedard. I think he'll want to show up and show out, and they've been playing absolutely amazing for the last little stretch. So I'd be very surprised if they blow it tonight. That's going to do it for the Lock Shop. Hus is coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk right away. We're going to have two guys and a goalie coming up here on Edmonton Sports Talk at noon as well. Fantasy Football 5 on the way. Hus, we'll talk to you tomorrow, man. Have a good show.
You got it, buddy.
All right, let's get into it. The Fantasy Football 5 brought to you by Century Casino, Sports Bar and Lounge, Fort Road. Join Lieutenant Eric every Monday and Thursday night throughout the NFL season, and we will be having our EST, our first ever EST Super Bowl party will be happening at the casino on, the day of the Super Bowl, which ended up being pretty good time. Week 15. Waiver wire. We're going to get into that. How did it come around for the playoffs? I missed the playoffs in my big boy league. I'm extremely frustrated. It goes back to my decision to not play A-Chain ahead of the tight ends 2 weeks ago. I lost this week, but that last one, that win 2 weeks ago, I had to win one of the final 2 weeks to get into the playoffs, and I didn't, and I'm very disappointed. And then I missed the playoffs in our 16-team league. That's a bit of a rebuilding, retooling team. So that one I'm not as frustrated about. I loaded up on some picks. But I did make the playoffs in the Wandering Cone Football League. I got playoffs in let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 6 playoff teams. So that'll keep me going here for the next little while. So that'll be good. Rafi's Murder Boners went 9-5, finished 3rd in the Uncle Rico Dynasty League. So that's nice. Here's the team that I missed. Here's the team that I missed within the Big Boy League. I like this team. Some disappointing results with this club this year. So this is a team that I missed the playoffs with. CJ Stroud, you only ended up with 3 points this week because he got hurt. So that killed me. This team had CJ Stroud, Austin Eckler, David Montgomery, Jalen Waddle, Calvin Ridley, Nico Collins, DeAndre Hopkins, A-Chain, Fryer Moose / Njoku, Jalen Addison, and Trevor Lawrence as my other quarterback. I thought that was a playoff team. You know who killed me in this one? Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler was a fantasy football bust this year. Drives me nuts. If you do have any questions about the waiver wire here for playoff week, 780-218-9999. Big Yukas in it says a beauty night from Raheem the Dream and a great start for the defense. Got it done. Off to the playoffs, baby. It's just something special about locking up a playoff spot, right? You feel nice. You still got a chance. You still got a chance to win the entire thing. So best of luck to all of you there. We're going to take a look at some of the waiver wire pickups that you might be able to dive in on. I'm just trying to see. Ooh, I just had a trade proposed. Is this to me? Oh, no, I already pulled the trigger on that one. Never mind. Sleeper. Sleeper's a good app. I'm still getting used to it. I've got 4 leagues on Sleeper this year. So there's elements of it that I'm still getting used to. I think the app could maybe be just a little bit friendlier, but I do like it. I think this is the way that you probably have to go. And playoff spots secured in the Wandering Cone Football League. So that's nice. 7-7, not great, but playoff spot is secured. As for waiver wire, heading into the playoffs, I mean, there's a few places to look right now. Let's just go take a quick peek at Fantasy Pros and see what they're rolling out here, and kind of dive into this list a little bit. Odell Beckham Jr., number 1 on the waiver wire list at Fantasy Pros. Maddie, what say you about Baltimore Ravens and OBJ? I know he had that touchdown this week. This isn't going to be like at him now league winner type of thing, is it? I wouldn't expect.
I will give this as I always do. I don't comment on Ravens when it comes to fantasy because I am too hard on Ravens players.
But how has he looked from a non-fantasy perspective?
I don't know. I've liked them. I've liked the Ravens offense. But so they get the Jags on Sunday. They then get the 49ers, Dolphins. Who cares about the last game because playoffs should be done for you. It's a tougher stretch.
Jags, 49ers, Dolphins in the playoffs for OBJ.
Next 3. Yeah.
Huh. Not ideal, but Fantasy Pros do have him at the top of the list, and that would be like all of their experts combined. Rankings, they've got Jake Moody at number 2, Donta Foreman sitting at number 3, running back with Chicago, Curtis Samuel, who's basically just been kicking around all season. He's at 38.4% owned in leagues right now. Logan Thomas, tight end with Washington. Their schedule sucks. I'd be very hesitant on trying to get your hands on Commanders right now. Their playoff schedule is not great down the stretch. Rico Dowdle's interesting. Pretty decent schedule. Less than 10% owned. If something were to happen to Tony Pollard, could possibly be a league winner. That would be a stash candidate, I would think. You got Ty Chandler, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Elijah Moore, Cade Otton, who we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Zay Jones. You know, they want him to be that guy in place of Christian Kirk, but I'm not sure he's capable of being that guy. I like the stash of Rico Dowdle for the playoffs, just in case something happens there. CEH is tough because even with Pacheco out, they still love mixing in Jerick McKinnon, don't they? That's why I have McKinnon usually stashed in a few leagues. I started McKinnon in one league this week. And, he ended up with whatever it was, double-digit points. So I think you got to take that. But congratulations to all of you who made your playoffs. And the Fantasy Football 5 will continue through the Fantasy Football playoffs. And fingers crossed that we can deliver some championships along the way. 2 guys and a goalie coming up, myself, Matt Cassie, and Joaquin Gage. We've got lots to discuss today. The Oilers and the Chicago Blackhawks, we'll certainly get into that. The NHL wanting this game or putting this game at just after 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight makes a lot of sense. We'll get into Zach Hyman, according to the fine folks at Evolving Wild, a frontrunner for the Hart Trophy right now. So I'm sure Cass will have a few things to say about that. Plus, in honor of Chicago being in town, I put together Chicago-based trivia today from movies. It should be a lot of fun. We'll see how the boys do on that one. That's coming up. If you are listening right now on TuneIn or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, you will briefly hear our great buddies over at Will and the Wolf. And then 2 guys and a goalie will get rolling. We'll have pregame show tonight here with Tommy Gazzola starting at 6:30. Postgame to follow. The Oilers trying to make it 8 in a row against the Chicago Blackhawks. We'll set that up on 2 guys and a goalie. That'll do it for your Fantasy Football 5. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on the FF5 right here on Edmonton Sports Talk.